Welcome to your online coffee break, where we discuss bite-sized topics that inspire, educate, and entertain. Here's your host, a software innovator, award-winning marketer, and astronomy and space buff, Chuck Fields.
Hello, thanks for joining us today for your online coffee break. Today I'd like to welcome my special guest, Martha Davis. Martha is an American rock and new wave singer-songwriter from Berkeley, California. She's the lead singer of the band, the Motels, who achieved gold record status and generated 2 top 10 singles, Only the Lonely and Suddenly Last Summer. Their most recent album, Last Few Beautiful Days, has been nominated as Best Album for 2019 by the Independent Music Awards. Hello, everyone. Before we get to our special guest today, I want to give a shout out to US Roast. They are a premium coffee company, and they sent me these delicious samples. I have to say they were fantastic. I highly recommend them. If you'd like to show them some love, just go to their website, usroast.com. I also want to extend a special thanks to you. Thanks to you, in just over a year, we have grown tremendously. We are now in way more than 100 countries in all 50 U.S. states, and I am just humbled, and I just can't thank you for taking time out of your schedule. There's 500,000 podcasts out there, and you took time to join us for ours. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. As we grow, and of course as we continue to grow, we could use even more support if you feel so obliged. We did open up a site on patreon.com/online coffee break. If you'd like to check out our support levels there, we have everything from $1 a month and up a little bit if you'd like to get some special benefits. We've also opened up a unique store at onlinecoffeebreak.com/shop where you can buy some really cool merchandise like our online coffee break mug that I just love, and some photos that if you're watching, you can see behind me. You can purchase those as well. Every little bit helps. But again, thank you so much. Either way, we just love that you tune in and are watching the show today or listen to it on your favorite podcast application. Thank you so much for all your support. Again, we couldn't have done it without you. Now, back to the show.
Online coffee break.
Hello?
Martha, this is Chuck Fields. How are you?
Chuck, how are you?
I'm fantastic.
My fellow science nerd.
I was so happy to hear that. I had no idea that you were into science. Makes me respect you even more.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm a crazy kid that, because I started life early and dropped out of school when I was 15, but
yeah,
I always wanted to be a scientist when I was little. And growing up Berkeley and bopping around the paleontology, but first I want to be a paleontologist, and then it was astronomy. I don't know. You know how it goes.
I totally follow in your footsteps too, because I just love all the sciences. Now, what I'd like to do is go back in time a little bit before we go to the present. And you just had this amazing career. The Motels, as I understand it, you guys started in the 70s, and you're still going strong. So I just got to ask, where does your music and talent come from?
I kind of want to blame my mom for that. She had a great record collection. And I remember 78s back in those days. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm incredibly old. But she had everything from like Leadbelly to Dixieland to a lot of classical. I remember the first record that just blew my mind. I was like 5. I remember just sitting and staring at the turntable going around, but the speaker was on the other side of the room. But was Igor Stravinsky's The Rite of Spring. I was just okay, that's where I want to be. And I remember the second movement of that piece actually made me feel like I was falling in space.
Really?
So I don't know. It's like they're all tied together somehow.
Maybe that's what started it. Now, I have to admit, you cannot say you're old because you just look beautiful. And I got to admit, too, I'm not far behind you. I was really into the new wave scene in the 80s. When I had hair, it was colored. And, of course, I loved your songs, Only the Lonely and Suddenly Last Summer, both of which made it to the top 10. I just want to ask you, what was it like for you at that time when those hits were just going off the charts?
Well, it's very heady business, and it's kind of... It's a double-edged sword, It's pretty fantastic. All of a sudden, you're kind of the story I was telling lately is because of the tragedy of the Notre Dame fire.
Yes.
And I remember we were in Paris back in the day, and we had just gotten informed by our EMI rep that I guess it was Little Robbers, their album had gone gold. Mm-hmm. And so we were all, full of ourselves and just like, here we are in Paris and la la la. And he was taking us sightseeing, and we were just like being really obnoxious little pop stars. And then we walked in Notre Dame, and you become humble real quick.
I bet. I could not imagine.
Yeah, so I mean, you're too young to really understand what to do with it. Sadly, youth is wasted on the young, and and you're so wrapped up with the energies that are, I mean, it's all crazy. It's all sex and drugs and rock and roll, and it's so when you get that kind of fame, I think it just gets more confusing. At least for me it was. I was dealing with a lot of stuff, and so I was just like I think that's why I actually restarted my career and did it all over from the beginning again, because that's what I did in the 90s. I literally just started with a baby band that had never seen a record deal, and I worked my way back up again. I think I wanted to be there second time around.
See, I think that is so inspirational. I mean, you're reinventing yourself, and you've done that. You could teach us a lot on this. Now, what I have to love is the album that you came out with, your most recent album just last year, The Last Few Beautiful Days. From the Motels' latest album, Last Few Beautiful Days, here's their hit, As Long As.
As long as I'm with you, I feel I'm still. As long as I am still, I can still feel. As long as I have strength, I'll fight for you. As long as I can breathe, you will be safe.
Oh my gosh. I mean, you've gotten the HMMA Music nomination. You're up for the Independent Music Awards nomination that we find out later in June.
Yeah, I know.
Wow. It is a great album. Can you tell a little bit more about the inspiration behind that album?
This album is really a very, very, I do love this album. I think it's beautiful. And it's gone through, it took a long time to make, mostly because I live up in Oregon and my boys are all down in LA. Mm-hmm. And I have to shout out to my boys right here and now, because this group that I've been with now 16 years, we're like, I started with them when they were just babies. And they're amazing, amazing musicians, incredibly talented, and the most lovely. We love each other so much. We have so much fun. So I'm very lucky in a lot of respects. I mean, the deck is sort of like stacked in my favor.
Here's Punchline from the Motels' newest album, Last Few Beautiful Days.
So far we've come and gone, both of us trying to find our way home, with just lost dreams that we have come to own. And here we stand again. Is it the beginning or the end?
So we started this, it actually started, we had gigs up here, and I had just redone my studio down in the basement, and so we went down and we just started fooling around with some ideas. I had this weird album I wanted to write called Cassiology, and so I wanted to do an album strictly on battery-operated
Wow.
things. But I had a collection of just like little riffs and this and that, and we'd take some of those and start jamming on them, and it just started that way. And I was picturing it being an album just of my, well, you can't have pet peeves these days. You have to have very large peeves because the world is kind of a mess. Yeah. So I was going to sort of categorically go through all the things that are driving me crazy, about where we are as a, and I use the word civilization loosely.
Understand.
And so but I know from experience that when you write any kind of political song or any kind of, if you're doing a message song, that you're just going to actually make people either want to argue with you or not want to listen to it.
Yes.
So rather than make it why don't you blah, 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 and pointing a finger and you, I made sure every song was first person. Mm-hmm. So it was me telling a story about something I had done, rather than, so it's now an emotional journey rather than a political one, but I'm telling the same story, if you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. I have to admit, one of my favorite songs, of course, is Lucky Stars. Here's Lucky Stars from the Motels' latest album, Last Few Beautiful Days.
Starlight, vivid as madness, dreams wake inside my head. It's as though I'm hearing words no one said. I'll ignore communication.
I just love even the video for that, how you're just kind of going through. And once you pay attention to that, I just think, I definitely identify with about everything you wrote on there. So I just thought it was just a wonderful message and just a wonderful song.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, that was kind of like the idea is like, tell stories that people can, dig into. But then the funny thing happened. I was actually at the end of the album, I was trying to put together a sequence. Mm-hmm. And this song, I'm a writer more than anything. I have hundreds and hundreds of songs, and I had been going through this stuff for some reason, and this older song came up, and for some reason it started talking to me. And so I called Nick, who's the producer on the album and the bass player in the band, and I said, Nick, I think we need to maybe re-record this Light Me Up song. And so I was trying to sequence the album, and I realized in sequencing it that even though everything was supposed to be first person, I didn't hear me singing it. In fact, on a lot of the songs, I actually heard from a man's point of view, like it wasn't even like in my gender. Really? so, and as soon as I put that other song, Light Me Up, in, it created a story. It's not sequenced that way on the CD, but I'm actually going to re-release it on vinyl, and I'm going to re-sequence it the way that it played out for me. And it became literally my story of, getting pregnant when I was very young, mm-hmm. and trying to raise the kids and become a musician and that whole saga. And it doesn't end well. I have lost one of my daughters to fentanyl. Thank you.
Yeah. I was so sad to hear about that. No, that wasn't too long ago, and I'm just with you on that. Our prayers are definitely with you.
Well, so many thousands of people have. I mean, the day my daughter died, I was called by the friend that she was with's mother, and they were both dead. We both lost daughters that day.
Oh my gosh.
So, and this is all due to the greed of the pharmaceutical companies, which that's how it started. That's how these girls got addicted. Sarah, my daughter's friend, was a soccer player, and she had blown out her knee playing soccer, but she was too young to get any operation on it, so they put her on Oxycontin for 10 years.
Wow.
Now, you can't do that.
No,
you can't do
definitely
that.
not. Totally agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I guess it's inspiration that I look forward to, because, again, we can look for our joy in material things, or for me personally, I love obviously listen to music, like a great songs. Yep. And one thing I think is kind of cool, because when the Motel started out, you guys waited a while before you had a record label, and what I understand is you have a new record label in process called Remarkable Records, and that's the one that you're releasing some of your, like you mentioned, on vinyl and some children's music. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about the new label.
Okay, well, it is called Remarkable Records,
nice.
And I'm so corporate now. I'm just driving myself crazy.
Yes, you are. I'm impressed.
And because of the fact that I'm a writer, and because there's so much stuff I have hundreds of songs and hundreds of projects. Like from musicals to country and western to kids albums to jazz albums. It's just like,
it's amazing.
and they've been just sitting there. So I just decided I'm going to try to get some money, like get my own money, put my thing together, and start trying to get this stuff out of my closet. Crying out loud.
Well, I think that's remarkable. No pun intended, of course. Sorry, had to go for that one. It was right there. Now, the other thing, obviously, that really impressed me, I had no idea until recently that you have a love of science. Tell me more about that. That's so incredible.
Yes, I have a fascination with everything.
Awesome.
Like what are you interested in? Everything. I like it all. I'm fascinated by the world and its workings and studying things. I have done my entire life. It may have started out when I was very young. I was talking to Neil Degrasse Tyson about this, actually. I met him. I was like a schoolgirl. I was just like, I lost it. I could meet, famous musicians, and it's like no big whoop, but man, Neil deGrasse, I was just like,
yeah, I would be like that too.
But I was telling him that when I was young, my dad got a couple of army cots, and I basically slept outside all year round. So I stared at the stars. And when you do that as a child, because nobody's shut you down yet, your imagination is still running wild. Mm-hmm. You're imagining all of the scenarios that could be going on, because when you look at the sky, you're like, does it end?
Mm-hmm.
How you just start pondering those things, And I have a real good, I like infinity. I don't have a problem with it. I know it kind of flummoxes a lot of people, but I kind of dig it. I have a theory just from studying everything that there's, and it's backed up with your just basic, like for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction kind of stuff. But everything breathes. Everything has that same movement of expansion and contraction. From the universe to the stock market, everything from a flower to our lives. It's just like there's it's an amazing thing. I've tried to I've tried to find somewhere in life where that isn't the instance, but it seems to pan out pretty much across the board. So, what goes up must come down, and what goes down must go back up. There's this motion constantly. So I don't know. I could be completely wrong, but I like to think that everything's breathing.
See, I love that, and I love the curiosity, and I think all of us, that kid quality of being curious when we're young and keeping that with us. A lot of adults don't have that. I love that you still have that curiosity. I still go out, look at the stars, and say, "Where's the end? It can't be an end. How can it not be an end?"
Yeah.
So
the only magazine I subscribe to is New Scientist. That's the one. It's not Billboard. It's not Cashbox or whatever.
You
and
have
it's
your
the
priorities
greatest little. Do you know that magazine?
I do. I don't subscribe to it, but I do know it. Yes.
It's awesome. It's like every week it comes, and every week all the stories are there, and they're. It's not greatly in depth or anything like that, but it sure keeps you up to snuff and tells you which books to read and stuff like that. So that's awesome.
Wow. Well, check it out. And regarding science, tell me about your character. I love this. Fineas T Rabbit. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, Phineas, I've done 2 kids albums that have never really seen the light of day. And that's going to change too, hopefully, on Remarkable Records.
Yes.
But when I get a project going, and to me a project is inspiration. If you tell me, Martha, we need to write a musical, I will sit down and write 30 songs in a week. I get so excited.
Wow.
And when I say to myself, I think you need to write a kids album, then I will write 10 kids songs in a day. And they just pour forth. I have a tendency to always write about animals, but they're not necessarily real animals.
That's okay.
Or behave like real animals, as in Phineas, who is an astrophysicist. He's a little bunny rabbit, and he is raised by a magician, of course. And, of course. But he is deep into astrophysics, and he is completely convinced that he can create a spacecraft, and with probably maybe an Alcubierre drive, something like that, where you'll do a little warping of time-space, and then you can, he wants to get himself to a black hole. This little bunny, he believes that the beginning of everything, or understanding of everything, would be to just really, instead of avoiding a black hole, go into it as fast as you can. And he thinks this because he's a rabbit, and for him, holes have always been safety, so he's got that going on for him.
That's awesome.
So anyway, it's just a little fun story. It's basically would probably hit a kid. The song itself would probably hit kids, tiny kids, 3, 5 years old. But what better time to fall in love with, black holes and bunny rabbits.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I never dreamed that I'd be talking to Martha Davis about black holes and time space.
First of all, theoretical physics is the best because it's theories, and if I do anything, I will come up with theories. I mean, some of them just completely ridiculous, but I just love thinking that way. Just like, well, what if, and what if then, what if that, and if you look at that and that happens to that, well then, I just love it. Sadly, dropping out of school very early, I didn't ever get the math. I never even got to algebra, so not really going to be dealing with string theory anytime soon.
As if you're not busy enough with everything going on, I understand the Motels. You have a tour going on. You've got the Lost in 80s tour. Can you tell us just briefly a little bit about that?
We've got a lot of dates coming up. Martha's going to be really busy this year. Thank you, Franny. She keeps me working.
Nice.
We have just a series of different dates. We have Lost 80s dates. You can go to the website and Facebook and all the things, and they're all listed. But some of them are where it's like a bunch of 80s bands. It's a real fun. We get together with all our old buddies, and everybody gets up and does a few songs. So it's like a really fun, kind of crazy 80s night. And then some of the shows that are happening this year are with the band, which are awesome because my band's the best band in the world.
Absolutely.
And that's more like, the hour and a half, 75-minute shows and new songs, old songs, all kinds of good stuff. So it's going to be a good year. And during that, I just actually came back from Portland where I had my meeting with the amazing, and she is amazing, and that's her I think that's on her website, the amazing Miss Justice, Alicia Justice, who's doing the artwork for Phineas.
Wow.
And because I'm going to do it in a book form as well. So I've got that going on, and then I've got to figure out this jazz album that I want to come out this year too, which was recorded years ago.
Wow.
There's a lot going on.
Martha,
and chihuahuas.
And chihuahuas, alpacas too, I believe.
Oh, alpacas and goats and ducks and chickens. Yeah, I'm a farmer.
A farmer who's also a musician, who's also into science. Martha, I can't thank you enough. I think this is wonderful. I just want to wish you the best of luck on your tour, and we're just so excited to listen to your new music, and just want to wish you the best of luck.
Yay, thank you so much, Chuck. You are a sweetheart, and one of these days, let's just get together and talk some science.
Online coffee break.
Wow, I really enjoyed my conversation with Martha today. I hope you did too. If you'd like to find out more information about Martha Davis and the Motels, just go to their website at themotels.com. I want to thank Martha for joining us today. I want to thank you for joining us as well. If you'd like to comment on today's topic, just go to our website at onlinecoffeebreak.com. We'd also love it if you'd follow us on social media like Facebook or Instagram at Online Coffee Break. We'd also appreciate it if you'd share this episode with your friends or subscribe on your favorite podcast application. Thanks again for taking time to join us today. We'll see you next time. God bless.